President Donald Trump's rejection of the agreement is likely to be a major setback for Iran, and for Zarif, regarded by many as Tehran's most talented diplomat since the 1979 Islamic Revolution. The 2015 deal, which lifted international sanctions in return for curbs on Iran's nuclear program, was Zarif's crowning achievement to date. Trump said he would reimpose U.S. economic sanctions on Iran to undermine a horrible one-sided deal that should have never, ever been made. That drew fierce criticism from Iranian officials. Members of parliament burned an American flag and a copy of the Iran deal, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, as a session of parliament began. They also chanted "Death to America," according to the Iranian Students' News Agency. Zarif now faces uncertainty after years of complex, exhausting negotiations with Western powers. As the public face of the Iran deal, he can expect intense criticism from hawks. Pressure from hardliners. Some hardliners threatened Zarif with bodily harm after the deal was signed. These critics will be emboldened by Trump's actions and might put pressure on Zarif to resign. But the Islamic Republic might still need his diplomatic skills to try and salvage the deal. Zarif's familiarity with Western culture helped him forge close working relationships with American officials, who have long memories of the occupation of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, in which hardline students held diplomats hostage for 444 days. He lived in the United States, from the age of 17 as a student in San Francisco and Denver, and subsequently as a diplomat to the United Nations in New York, where he served as Iranian ambassador from 2002 to 2007. Zarif developed direct contacts with U.S. officials, despite this being a political taboo back in Iran, which served him well in the 1990s when he was involved in negotiations to free U.S. hostages held by the pro-Iranian Hezbollah group in Lebanon. Unlike most of his predecessors, he actually has theoretical knowledge and practical experience in international relations, said Ali Weiss, Iran project director at the Crisis Group think tank. Zarif's email exchanges with Kerry at critical moments, including during the arrest of 10 U.S. Marines in Iranian waters in 2016, diffused tensions between the two countries that have had no political ties since 1980. However, this direct line between Tehran and Washington was lost when Trump entered the White House. Zarif, smooth and reassuring during negotiations, also has a tough side. Trump's ignorant hate speech belongs in medieval times, not the 21st century UN, unworthy of a reply, Zarif tweeted a few hours after Trump's first speech at the UN General Assembly, in which he called the nuclear deal an embarrassment and one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. Divisive figure. Zarif's seeming ease with Western ways has made him a divisive figure in Iran, and hardliners have lined up to lambaste him for speaking so directly to the Islamic Republic's enemies. Secretly filmed footage emerged in May 2015 of Zarif arguing furiously in a closed session of parliament with a lawmaker who branded him a traitor. Zarif has spent almost all his diplomatic life outside Iran and has a good grip of international affairs, but this is his weak point, too, said Hossein Rassam, former Iran advisor to Britain's Foreign Office. Some hardliners have already called Zarif a coward for studying in the United States during the 1980s, rather than defending his country in the 1980-88 war with Iraq, in which Saddam Hussein had Western and Gulf Arab support. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton, a Republican opposed to the nuclear deal, copied the tactic by tweeting at Zarif in 2015, "You hid in U.S. during Iran-Iraq war while peasants and kids were marched to die." But Zarif responded by congratulating Cotton on the birth of his son, adding, "Serious diplomacy, not macho personal smear, is what we need." While the foundation of the nuclear deal that Zarif built with meticulous care is shaking, the Iranian diplomat has not lost hope. "I'll spearhead a diplomatic effort to examine whether remaining JCPOA, nuclear deal, participants can ensure its full benefits for Iran. Outcome will determine our response," he tweeted.